Rage 2 was honestly one of my most anticipated games of 2019, right after Fort Fight Season 69. But really, it comes from the developers of Mad Max, a game no one played in 2015. Its sales pitch is an open world mixed with great combat, blasted with neon colors and cool cars to drive around in. I mean, look at the footage that was shown off at E3. It carefully checks all of the boxes to get people excited. Action, the colors, and gadgets. Then it shows a little car section and you're thinking, okay, that seems cool, I guess. Now actually having it in my hands, I can say that this is a really weird game, mostly because it doesn't deliver on anything that it promised. It's not the crazy game it's made out to be. There aren't bright colors everywhere, no over-the-top vehicle combat, and a lack of action-packed encounters around every corner. It's milder in every respect, even if it's pretending to be wilder than it is. This fact comes across the most obvious visually. Everything about the game looks fine. It seems like there was a dedication to texturing, the landscapes are really great, and some of the models are pretty detailed. The thing is, that flair the trailers used is almost completely missing. Instead of the bright pink and the harsh blues popping out, they accent the entire image. Look at this clip of me driving. It looks pretty normal. Nice landscapes with the Mass Effect car in the middle, nothing too hectic. But when I use the boost, a little pink flash appears in the exhaust of the car. It's the only hint at a non-everyday color. Even in a combat scenario, this could be from any other game. Wasteland outposts blend together as the post-apocalyptic setting doesn't offer a wide diversity of locations. But it's this addition of literal flares on the ground that adds some neon color to the setting. Instead of being bathed in light, it feels pretty tame. It doesn't revel in it like Far Cry Blood Dragon does, and lacks the focus of the actual post-apocalyptic setting to make that stand out. For example, look at the Mad Max world. This place makes you acknowledge the cobbled together aspect of everything. The vehicles are parts shoved together, the weapons are Lego pieces, not actual Lego pieces, and nothing looks like a product that came out of a factory. Compare that to the pristine Phoenix. Weapons look immaculate, and the multitude of places that look like an interior decorator had the final say on the layout. Even when the game does get a little gnarly, since that was never really a focus, it kind of just stands out all on its own. What really throws you for a loop is when you leave nature behind to go into areas that remind you of the futuristic setting. Towards the end of the campaign, there are small sections where you explore these technological bases. The first time I went inside one, I thought of the Crucibles from Horizon Zero Dawn, which ironically, another post-apocalyptic game set in the future. So it's this odd dichotomy of wasteland versus tech tunnel, which isn't blended very well. After 7 hours of driving on dirt, you just happen to pop into the most technologically advanced looking place in the world. Speaking of that world, wow, can I say this comes close to being the worst open world game I have ever played. The initial starting hours gave me flashbacks to Mafia 3. I was so close to just giving up. But as I played more, I realized that this was just the problems that Mad Max suffered from on a larger scale. This has to do with there being so many open world activities to do, all of which have very little importance. Rage 2 splits its world elements into 4 categories. Each is filled with the usual suspects: locations to clear out, roaming enemies to kill, and collectibles to gather. It doesn't mind filling its map with tons of icons, all pointing to those various activities. It might seem like there is a lot to do, but all that content is fake. Outposts have the same enemies, while the actual location doesn't do much to differentiate between each encounter. The convoys are not inherently hostile, so if you aren't attacking them, they'll let you pass by unscathed. Each aspect of the activities is so limited and built on the lowest common denominator that it all really does become a chore. Take these towers that are scattered throughout the map. It's a structure that shoots at you and you have to shoot back. The entire combat scenario attached to this thing is shooting at it and jumping over lines that emanate from it. It's pretty brain dead stuff. These towers are actually just different versions of the ones in Mad Max. Instead of standing behind cover and shooting at it, the player had to use their vehicle weapons to damage it. This means ramming into it and pulling it down with a harpoon and other stuff. Both activities aren't great, but in Rage 2 it comes across as extra stupid. Nothing ever feels like a unique experience, and it's all poorly thought out. Add on top of these poorly crafted bits the terrible enemy AI. Similar to the problem with most open world games, enemies are designed to work in story missions. This means directed long hallways where enemy encounters are paced out. When you plop these idiots into a base for the player to clear out in the middle of nowhere, things just don't work out. There were multiple instances where I was clearing out an outpost and there was a random enemy still left roaming the area. I killed all of their comrades, their bodies littering the floor, and this dumbfuck is walking around like I didn't just commit mass murder. So since they aren't attacking you and you can't officially check the outpost off your checklist until everyone is killed, this creates the most boring hide-and-seek game ever. The frustration is astronomically amplified when the outpost is huge. You have to backtrack and look for this idiot for so long until you casually happen upon them. But your job doesn't end there. No location is 100% complete until you find all of the little boxes that litter the area under it. So you have to hunt these pink-topped crates to grab 2 of the different currencies in the game. There also might be a much larger special chest that carries an upgrade-specific currency. This process is completely draining, snaking through locations, doubling back, and keeping your eyes open for the dullest pink you'll ever see. The worst part is, when you find the damn things, a loud noise plays while a banner straight out of a mobile game covers the top third of the screen. It happens every time one is opened and never ceases to be annoying. Now, this should lead me into the game's strongest aspect, the combat. Even though it's the best part of the game, it's only okay. The only guaranteed weapons that you can get are the assault rifle and the shotgun. You have to explore the rest of the world to try and find the other possible weapons to add to your arsenal, so I ended up only having the default weapons plus the Thanos snap gun. I mean, in theory, this thing is amazing. Snap your fingers and people combust. It would be more satisfying if it didn't take the person forever to keel over, but the initial satisfaction is A+. Back to the combat though. It's pretty much like any other game, except maybe a little worse. Since your character doesn't have any upgrades at the start, it sucks to play. Movement is sluggish, you sprint so slowly, it's not even possible to reload while doing it. Every encounter becomes an assault rifle match unless you're willing to get in enemy faces and put a few slugs through it. Rage 2 is actually the first game where I do not enjoy getting headshots. I'm telling you, for all of the deserved shit Red Dead Redemption 2's gameplay gets, I enjoyed flicking the analog stick to land headshots. Here, I feel like I was constantly hitting the mark, but never getting the kill. It's where I draw the line between me and everyone else saying the game plays like Doom. Just look at Doom gameplay. You have a character that jumps around, putting all different types of ammo through demons. It ends up being a dance as the player bobs and weaves through enemies, switching weapons and glory killing all day. Compare that to the more generic linear path of Rage 2, or just how often you'll be looking through a scope and waiting for the headshot icon to pop up. There is no fluidity, no dance to participate in. You just try and get the enemies in front of you so you're able to unload in the crowd. But there is an upgrade system, allowing the player to channel their inner Sonic to speed away, reloading on the go. You get to hold more grenades, throw your boomerang faster, and upgrade yourself to stay in the fight longer. There is a huge downside to this. Most of these upgrades suck. Yeah, being able to carry more items is cool and expanding how much ammo you can carry is nice, but bullet reduction damage? Or damage increase all at 5% increments? This is not a good upgrade system. No one wants minimal percentage upgrades. Instead of having abilities and weapons scattered throughout the map, optional for the player to find, yes, it doesn't outright tell you where they are, make them tied to the story content. Instead of making the double jump a little better, how about giving the player the vortex ability? Instead of requiring 2 different currencies to unlock weapon mods, how about giving the player the rocket launcher instead of hiding it in a structure out in the wasteland? These are boring, and they are all unlocked through the currency that you collect when completing missions and punching open pink bins, thus cementing the mobile game feeling as you decide what upgrades you want to spend your crystals on. Even when everything is going perfectly, meaning you're in an area fighting off a mix of enemies, it just isn't that fun. I really thought that the actual gameplay would make the game worth playing. I thought if I could just drive the car enough, get to the places where I could wreck everything on my path, that it wouldn't matter if the rest of the game sucked. Instead, the experience is bogged down by stupid systems, more currencies than mobile games, and just an overall lack of fun. I haven't talked about story, mission design, or any of that because it doesn't matter.
So you thought you'd just dump all that on my shoulders and waltz off into oblivion, huh, Aunt Prowley? Well then, guess it's all up to me now.
I mean, sure, they suck, but in the face of all of the gameplay mistakes, it's trivial. I can tell you that audio for characters cuts out, that the mini-bosses are even more repetitive and even less inspired than the ones of God of War, that I feel like I'm playing Red Dead Redemption 2, where you drive across the map just for a character to give you a waypoint somewhere else. It's honestly super disappointing, and I can't recommend you even touch this. Some people will say $20 is the right price for this, but I would wholeheartedly disagree.